Hi guys, I'm Laura Vitale, and in this episode of Laura in the Kitchen, I want to show you how to make stracotto, which is a lovely and delicious, slow-cooked, it's kind of like a meat sauce. It's like an Italian meat sauce. It's a little bit different in the way that instead of doing a meat sauce where the tomato sauce is like the base sauce, for it, the base is going to be stock and wine and a little bit of tomato. It is wonderful. It's cheap. It's fantastic. It feeds a small army. Everyone loves it. It is the perfect thing to make in this cold, with this cold weather because it's really comforting and I just love it. And you can serve it with pasta. I'm going to do fettuccine today, but you could do pappardelle. You could use any pasta you like. Mashed potatoes, roast potatoes, polenta. You do you. But I want to share it with you because it's a classic that I think everyone should know how to make. And once you make it, you just can't stop. The list of ingredients is short and sweet. You'll need some beef. And I've got some pork as well. Traditionally, you use all beef, but I really like the combo of the two. So I've got some chuck, and I've got some pork shoulder. You'll need about 4 pounds total, but you can do all chuck if you want to. I just think that the flavor of the two together is unbeatable, and so that's why I do that. And also, it's 2 cheap cuts of meat. So buy in bulk, cut it up, keep it in your freezer, and when you want to make stracotto, you go ahead and pull it out, thaw it, and you can get to it right away. I've got some celery, onion, I've got some carrots, rosemary, lots of red wine. I really prefer like a Merlot or a Chianti for this. I've got beef stock, tomato paste, salt and pepper. You will also need some basil, and I've got some light olive oil, and you also need a little bit of regular olive oil as well. You can use regular olive oil the whole time, but light olive oil has a higher smoking point, and I want to go ahead and sear my meat first just to develop a little bit of flavor. So I'm going to get that to temperature, and while that happens, I'm going to salt and pepper this side of my meat, and then once I put it in, I'll do the opposite side. Now, like I said, this is something that can cook a low and slow, but if you are an Instapot cooker, you can do this in the Instapot. It'll take you a lot less time. I'm still sort of, playing around with mine. I feel like I'm going to need an expert to come in and give me like the 411 on how to use it, but we're getting there. What I'm going to do to the onion and celery and carrots, I am going to chop them really, really fine, almost into a paste in a mini chopper. The reason I'm doing this is because I want these vegetables to become one with the sauce. I want them to melt into the sauce and really lend that sweetness. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to put the meat in, and I'll show you where we are in a second. All right, my meat is searing absolutely beautifully. You see that crust right there? That right there is what I like to call free flavor. You didn't pay for that flavor, but by developing that flavor, it's going to add another level of flavor to your sauce. And why not take the time to do that? So if you're going to be doing this in your Instapot or even in your slow cooker, if you want to, make sure you take the time to sear your meat first, otherwise you're really shorting yourself out here. I'm gonna let that go. My mixture here, as you can see, is really finely chopped, not the herbs. I'm gonna set that aside. Once the meat is ready, I'm gonna take it out and we'll start sauteing the veg. You can see how smoking that pan is. That's why I used a light olive oil. You can also use an avocado oil, anything with a high smoking point. But you can see I don't have much, if at all, any fat left in the pan. So I turn the heat down. I'm gonna hit it with a little bit of regular olive oil this time. Not extra virgin, not a light flavor, just a good mild olive oil that you use for cooking. And then you're gonna add the veg mixture. Now you're gonna cook this for a good 5 to 6 minutes on medium heat, just to break it down a little bit. I'm gonna hit it with a bit of salt. Keep in mind, this is gonna cook for many hours. So you're not in any rush. Just let it cook low and slow, let it do its thing, and it will be perfection at the end of it. Everything is really easy but in this recipe, but taking the time to really just treat each step properly is gonna result in an outstanding dish. So even though it's easy, few ingredients, take the time, do it well, you'll be so thankful. Well, that looks fantastic. All right, so at this point we're gonna add the tomato paste, kind of cook that out for about, 30 seconds. It's been sitting in that tube or a can for a while, so you wanna make sure that you kind of heat that through, start to develop that flavor. It immediately smells so much better already. And you notice I'm not adding any garlic here. I know, but trust me, It just, for some reason, much like when I make my Sunday sauce, if you've seen that video before, I don't add garlic to that either, because I just don't. My family never has. I don't break that rule. There's a few people you listen to in your life. Your Nonna is one of them. So if she doesn't put garlic in her meat sauce of this sort, then I don't either. At this point, we're going to add in all the liquid. You're going to add the wine. Now, you're obviously not going to be able to cook the wine out, but if you don't want to use wine, if you don't use wine in your cooking, then just go ahead and use all stock here instead of the wine and the stock. And then just drizzle, I would just drizzle in a little bit of balsamic vinegar, just for another like level of sweetness and a little bit of that sticky sweetness, you know what I mean? And then we're gonna pop the seared meat right into the pool. And now you're gonna cover this and you're gonna let it cook low and slow for about 4 hours or until the meat is super tender. Now you might be asking, why aren't you using your big Dutch oven? One, they're all busy. And two, this pan, believe it or not, is a really thick pan. So it's not a thin bottomed pan. You do not want a thin bottomed pan because it will burn as it cooks. The bottom of whatever you have in there will burn. So this is one of my favorites. So add that right in. Any juices collected in your plate or whatever. Rosemary. And now this is going to come to a boil. I'm then going to cover it with a lid, turn it down to low, and let it simmer for many hours until it falls apart in its perfection. And we'll show you what it looks like when it's there. So this has been cooking for about 4.5 hours, and all I did was take the meat out just so that I could shred it and I could discard any fat. And you can see the onion and carrot and celery mixture. What it also did is it also kind of helped thicken that sauce naturally, and it is perfection. Now you can serve this lots of different ways. You can make a nice big hoagie with it, like with some sharp provolone on top. You can top it on pizza if you want to, with polenta, mashed potatoes, roast potatoes, rice, whatever. I like it tossed with some pasta, but hey, the world's your pickle, so you do you. At the very end, make sure you taste it for seasoning and adjust what you have to. Stir in some fresh basil. I like to stir it in off the heat so that it really just retains that beautiful green color, and you just get that beautiful, vibrant, sweet, oh, it smells so good, sweet flavor from the basil. Now, I'm not going to use all of this in my pasta because I only cooked about ½ pound, but it freezes incredibly well so that when you want a slow roasted or a slow cooked sauce, but you just don't have the time for it, all you got to do is defrost this baby, and then there you have it. In the middle of a busy work week, you've got a delicious slow cooked sauce that you wouldn't normally have time for by just pulling it out of your freezer. I've got some fettuccine here, but you can use any pasta you want. This just happens to be the pasta that I really like with it. Make sure you cook it al dente with lots of salt in the water. Drain it nicely. I'm gonna add a little more sauce because I like things saucy. And that sauce is so good. We've been taste testing it as it's been cooking, and it's phenomenal. I really recommend the pork and the beef mixture because the flavor combo is unbeatable, but you can use whatever your heart desires. That is gorgeous. I'm going to pop this onto, it's a little bit hot, onto this platter so that you can see, and then I'll serve myself up some. Look at that. Now I'm going to take this to the table with a little bit more parm on top, a drizzle of really good extra virgin olive oil all around it, and it is perfection times 1,000. I'm going to go ahead for a little bit right here. The sauce is really thick. There's nothing watery about it, which is what I like. Just going to get in here, just, you know, just to treat myself. Let's give this a go. It smells so good. That wine flavor is going to be, whenever a sauce has mostly wine and then some tomato, that's the kind of sauce I can get into. If I can get this pasta on my fork. Hold on. The steam is getting to me. Give it a second. Here we go. It's the kind of meat that you don't even have to chew because it's been cooking for so long that it's super tender. And remember, if you're going to do this in your Instapot or your slow cooker, make sure that you sear that meat first. Otherwise, you're really shorting yourself on some excellent, excellent flavor. Go to laurainthekitchen.com, get the written recipe. I hope you enjoy spending time with me, and I will see you next time. Bye.